All right. Well, we are back here with, who are you again?
I'm Brad.
All right. And what do you do?
I help people.
You help people financially.
That's
I like
right.
that.
That's right.
And today we're talking about emergency funds and how much you need, and more particularly how it should be invested, so to speak. So kind of talk me through that. I guess first of all, do you have an emergency fund?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I think where this question comes up, Matt, I've heard it recently. Rates are so low.
Sure.
So if your emergency fund is in the bank,
At the bank,
for an emergency that you need it,
Yep.
and you're not earning very much interest on that money, should you do something else with it?
Sure.
And I've had people like, well, should I put it in the stock market? Look at the gains. Look at what's going on. Why am I sitting here making nothing on it?
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important. My emergency fund is exactly what it is, and I have some cash available for that emergency. I think the first thing to figure out is how much do you need in your emergency fund?
Okay.
I think if it's, the furnace breaks down or you need new tires in your cars or something, you should have that money in a bank, and it's not no risk, and it's there.
Yep.
If it's an emergency fund, like you lose your job and you have 6 months of your income set aside,
Sure.
that you could probably, take a little bit of risk on,
Yeah.
be more moderate. But just because you have 15 grand in the bank and it's not earning anything and it's there for an emergency, you shouldn't go chase stocks or the S&P 500 or something like that just to try to get a better gain, and then wake up and find it's worth 12 and now you're mad at yourself that you took on too much risk.
Yeah. And is it true with the emergency fund, at that moment when you have an emergency, you don't want to have to be going back and trying to figure out which one out of the 20 little stocks to take it out of? I mean, that just seems like a debacle in and of itself.
Yeah.
It's there just to be simple.
Yeah, and here's where my head went when you brought that up. We've talked about this on a podcast before about having different buckets of money.
Yeah.
And we call them iBuckets at iWealth, but having your money intentionally invested for what it's designed to do. And so if it's designed for a vacation, I have a vacation fund called Vacation Fund that sits in the bank because we use it. Yeah. I also have a opportunity fund on things that might come up that Trudy and I might want to do. That's invested in the market because I don't know when I'm going to need it. And so I think if you name those, right, if you name it the emergency fund, the vacation fund, the college fund, the retirement fund, now you know where you're going when that event happens, and you can manage risk to that as well.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. And I think just people, if they can get their head around kind of, setting up visualize those different buckets and what your money is supposed to be. If you get to a spot where you've got the retirement taken care of. Yep. So, hey, I'm 65. I want to retire. My wife and I want to retire at 65. We want to have $5,000 a year in income. Yep. And you can back into those numbers, use inflation and
$5,000 a month in income, not $5,000 a year in income.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Because you're living pretty frugally at $5,000 a year.
We could try it.
All right, I just want to ask.
Yeah, no, I agree with the clarification. But you can back into those numbers, and there's calculators and things out there to help you do that. Once you get that settled and you know you're on track there, now you can go and start to fund those other things that are kind of fun. Yeah. And so this emergency kind of question that came up would be, all of a sudden you're chasing returns because the market's pulling away from you and you're sitting here not earning anything. And I just think it's important that you just leave it alone and deal with the market with your other type of buckets you're investing in.
And Murphy doesn't show up. That's maybe the last thing to say about it.
Yeah, Murphy's Law?
Murphy's Law doesn't show up if you got your emergency fund sitting there on ice ready to go for when the bad day.
And hopefully it sits there for 10 years and you never use it. Yep. Right? But you can put a limit on it. You can say 15 grand is my number, whatever that number is. Sure. After it gets above that, then start to chase some of those returns or whatever if you want, based upon what that money's for, what bucket you're going to put it in.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you back here next time.
All right. Thanks, Matt.